Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6:30 p.m. in Jeddah, and we are happy to have you on this for this online conferences in the framework of the conference lecture cycle, which is Les Entretiens de la Mer Rouge. Just a few words before leaving the floor to His Excellency Mr. Mostafa Miraj, General Consul of France in Jeddah. My name is Jean-Henri Gros. I'm attaché for culture and cooperation in Jeddah. And just a few rules for the lecture. So please be aware that it's important during the lecture your camera and your micro to be muted. Please do not hesitate to use the tool for the chat. And at the end of the lecture, one of our colleagues, Guylaine, will do the sum up of some questions, and they will be the question will be asked to the three one who are going to run the lecture. So thank you very much for being with us, and I leave the floor to Mr. Mostafa Miraj.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Masa al-Khair. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this online conference given as part of the Red Sea talks we launched here in Saudi Arabia and particularly in Jeddah 2 years ago. Our conference this evening is about the archaeological research in Kilwa, and we have 3 speakers, all archaeologists and all specialists in their field. I would like on your behalf to thank them very, very, very much for their time and for sharing with us their research and knowledge. We have, first of all, Mrs. Saba Faris, Professor of Languages and Cultures of Ancient Arabia at Toulouse University in the south of France. She is interested in the religious landscape and sacred land, as well as the relationship between territory and worship in Kilwa. And of course, Kilwa is in the north of Saudi Arabia, in the Tabuk province. Second, we have Mrs. Linda Herveux, archaeobotanist and researcher associated with the CNRS, the famous French University Center of Research. She is also in charge of the study of plant remains found in Kilwa. And finally, we have Mr. Vincent Olive, geoarchaeologist, lecturer at the University of Lorraine. His research in about the relationship between human occupation and the environment in Kilwa. I'm convinced that you will appreciate this conference that will focus on evidence from prehistoric to the most recent period of occupation of the Kilwa site with the environmental phenomena that will allow you, I'm sure, to understand the history of the site. Once again, most welcome to all of you to this conference. And once again, many thanks to our lecturer, and have a fruitful conference. Bonne soirée et bonne conférence. Masa al-Khair.
Charles-Henri, je commence ou?
Yes, Saba, the floor is yours.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here to listen about Kilwa archaeological research in Saudi Arabia. We are very happy and to be here with you, to share with you our works, what we did there. And I hope you will appreciate what we shall present to you. I will start. It's this presentation is very large presentation of research of Kilwa. I will share my screen, and here is, so it's it will be a large presentation of the work. It's not about specific discoveries or specific things, because we did a lot of work there, and it's just to let you know what is Kilwa, what you are doing in Kilwa, and what we did and what you are going to do in the future. So we shall start by talk about the location of Kilwa, then the project background, then project objectives, methodology, and some results. We are here only three to present the results of Kilwa, but you know we are a huge team, so thanks to everybody. Maybe they are here in the attendees, our colleagues. I know that Jean-François Hulot is here, so hi, Jeff. So Kilwa is one of the major desert site cities in Saudi Arabia. The urban planning, architecture, and construction were perfect for human adaptation, for the hard arid environment, for resource limitation, and for the harsh environmental condition and remote location. Water is very precious for the people who are in the desert, and they play a major role in the city's sustainability for providing material for building and for food. This rule, it was reinforced by the place, the location of Kilwa. Kilwa is located in the exactly north or northeast of Saudi Arabia. It's in the geological composite. It's of sandstone, and it's calcaire, and it was very, very useful for the community there. Kilwa is about 170 kilometers from Tabuk. Half of the road is on the road highways, but the halfway it's in the desert, and it's very difficult to reach Kilwa there. Kilwa, it's near the Jordanian border, and it's as you see, it's in the limits of here. It's calcaire geological ground, and here it's sands ground. The project is we had the authorization to work in 20 kilometers radius about Kilwa main site. It's here, and here it was 5 kilometers here of circle. This project is a result of very close cooperation between Saudi Arabia and France, between institutions in Saudi Arabia and in France. In France, there is many institutions who are involved in this operation. It's Université de Lorraine, Région Moselle, Centre CNRS, Région Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur, and of course, first of all, the cultural center, the embassy, French embassy in Saudi Arabia, who helped us since the beginning and even before, and French Ministry for Foreign Affairs. In Saudi Arabia, we had the full support of the previous Saudi Commission for Tourism and Heritage Department and the Department for Cultural Action and Cooperation of the French Embassy, who support us completely since the beginning. So thanks for everybody for their help. The project has many specialists of archaeology. We have the epigraphy, geophysical, architecture, archaeobotanical, geoarchaeological, prehistory, geomorphology, photogrammetry, geological anthropology, and even more. That's all what we need in archaeology to understand human activities. So the objective of the project is the mapping of archaeological sites in 20-kilometer radius in Kilwa, mapping of the hydraulic networks, and diagnose key sites through survey and or extensive excavation. Here the chronology of the operation. We start the first year in the first time it was in 2008. By documentation of the site, we make georeferenced aerial images with many colleagues as Olivier Barge, Christian Robin, and Pierre Lugatier. 2009, we started the first excavation in Kilwa, and we had more aerial photos. We had sediment analysis with Dr. Linda Hervé, she is here, she will talk after, and geoarchaeological mapping. 2010, we continue, and we make the archaeological diagnostics in the tomb near Kilwa main site, and we make environmental mapping with Professor Yann Callot and Maël Kripi. In 2013 and 15, it was we continue the excavation, and especially we make geophysical exploration with Professor Marc Michi and Dr. Pauline Lemaire. So I will present a little of their work now today. After 2015, it was the last time we go to the site of Kilwa. Since that time, we continue to work in Kilwa by studying the materials, spatial analysis, we make bone analysis, and we analyze all excavation data. 2016 and 18, we enlarge our reflection on human occupation in arid areas in the Mediterranean basin. We have therefore succeeded to winning a call for proposal. The title, it was Traditional Rainwater Harvesting System, a Sustainable Solution for No Urban Population in the Mediterranean Areas, STOMER. It was financed by l'ABEX Med in Aix-en-Provence University. And so we work with colleagues in Morocco and in Greece and in Italy about, we put together our results in Kilwa and what are happening in this region. And also, we win another call for a project for in the framework of the French government 5 years plan, the democratization, access to knowledge useful for research, training, economy, and society. So we have this call for a project from PACA region, and we work on the project called MIRCAP, and it's an online project. And I have one of my PhD students, Amira Al Jasser, she is with us here. And she is working in this project. Thanks for her. Now we are working in the publication of Kilwa results. The book, I would like to thank the Ministry for Culture in Saudi Arabia, who proposed to publish the book, the results, and it's now with their hands, and we hope that the book will be published quickly. It contains all research that we did in Kilwa until 2015. The area the main site of Kilwa, it looks like this when we see it from aerial images. It's many cells are small houses. It's built by dry stones, and all it's around something like lake, temporary lake. It's we call it gar. It's water. It can be here for many months, and the people they live in this area for this reason. So we make this referenced photos, and like that we have an idea of the distribution of the site. Around the site, we make also outside of Kilwa of prehistorical sites, aerial images. Here we have Neolithic site. Our colleague Dorte, she's from Germany. She's studying this. And another tomb where we found also inscription, Talmudic inscription, and we did excavation. It's near Kilwa main site. Also, for other works we did, it's recording of inscriptions and rock art, and here you have some of them. The prehistorical site, there is a lot in the Kilwa. It's mainly from Neolithic period. There is Paleolithic also, but there is a large period of Neolithic, and it's our colleague Dorte Rikita from Germany. She is studying this, and she did excavation already in Kilwa, and it's under publication now in the book, the result that she obtained. Spatial distribution of sites in Kilwa region. Also, we are working in this by Victor Vincent Olive. He will talk about it later. The study I will present here now really very quickly the results of the excavation in the Kilwa main site. Here, when you go to Google Earth, you will see this. It's Kilwa main site. You have here the buildings, and here the gare, and here we have what we call it's a forachou, it's limestone climb. The Kilwa, as I said, it's from the building. It's dry stone construction. That means there is no mortar. It's like this, and we study 4 buildings in this area with the structure 63, 47, 46, and 47, 54, and 57. It's for you. It's nothing. This number don't mean anything. 63, it's the area, it's the building where we found inscription. I will show you Arabic inscription. And here, the area here, it's hydraulic construction. And here we have the church, and we have the west building of the area. And Linda, she will talk about it.
It seems we lost Saba, no?
Yes, yes, it seems.
Okay, let's give her a couple of seconds maybe to join us again.
I'm here.
Welcome back.
Okay, sorry, I have really very bad connection, and very sorry. I will share my screen again, and here we are. Sorry. I will go quickly like that. Vincent and Linda will talk. So I was here. I don't know. You read this one. You hear this one, Charles-Henri? You hear it?
Not at all.
So here I was talking about this. That Kilwa. We start the excavation in the north part of Kilwa, in the building that we call it 63, just for us, and because this building have an inscription, Arabic inscription, written. We read Bismillah, Himat Ahl Tikla Min, and we don't. There is only 2 letters, and we don't understand from where. That's mean in the name of Allah. This is the Hima of the people of Tikla, and they are from, and we don't know the others. That means what? That means the Kilwa, the site it's a Hima place. That means an agriculture community are working there, and it's I think it's the unique mention in historical documents of a Hima system. It's very known in all in Arabic and Islamic literature, and here we have the unique mention of this. This one, the inscription here, it's in this cell, in this building. Here, how it looks like from aerial photos before excavation, and here after the excavation. Here the inscription is here. And we see that there is one room, and there is many small rooms for kitchen and cooking and other things like this. And there is a well. We finish from this, then we excavate another building that we call it the structure 54. This structure, there is no walls like the previous one, but after the excavation, we discovered that it's a church, and it's a church without roof. It's open air church, and we found the crosses there inside. We found 3 or 4, and thanks to early living sheds who excavate this place. So we have this beautiful excavation. In the last excavation we did in Kilwa, it was in 2015 in the structure that we call it 47, and it's in the main place of Kilwa. Here it's well-built structures with mortars, and it's very the blocks. It's cut and very beautiful construction. Here it looks like before the excavation. It was all collapsed, and when we finished the excavation, we found a oven like tanur here with many places for cooking. And we discovered many ceramics and many circle, and it's now under analysis. It takes time. You will maybe ask why until now we don't make analysis. You know, in archaeology, it's very long because we need funding, we need time to understand and to know what we must analyze and what we must not analyze. So now it's in laboratory and it's analyzing. The most important thing in the site, it was the water, to understand how they live there and from where, and water, how they can do this. We know that algae play a huge role in the human settlement here. There is many blocks here in the gare. It seems to me that it's very important to make geophysical analysis of the ground to see if there is something, because I go from the hypothesis that maybe we have a system of irrigation, like in Al-Ula and another place in Saudi Arabia and even in Jordan, the basin for culture. And thanks to Professor Marc Munchi and Pauline Lemaire, they come from University of Strasbourg, and they make the geophysical survey, and we found a huge basin under here. Here in red, you see the survey, it was here, and here what we see in their geophysical results. Here it's all technical, and here we see this basin. It measures 50. It's an Olympic basin. It's 50 meters long and deep. I don't know. I think it was 4 to 5 meters deep. When we have these results, we make a sounding to see if really there is something, because there is the images, but there is the reality. So we make sounding. It was very difficult because there is the soil composite, and we found the wall of this basin. It was really a huge discovery in 2015, and so it's confirmed that there is something that's building inside. We don't continue. We make just sounding because it needs a lot of time to make the walls and to go over the building. So we found many ceramics. We have charcoals. We have also bones, and we analyzed some of them. Ceramics, it's all mostly from Umayyad period in Kilwa main site. Circle analysis, it gives us, it's 7th century. Circle analysis, it gives us 7th, 8th to 9th century. The circle analysis samples, we take it from here, from this building that we excavate. And so we know that the site, it was really in activity in the 7th century and 8th and even 9th century. That's for the main site of Kilwa. But also we go outside of Kilwa, and here we are at Abu Ghada. There is a tomb. It's about 7 kilometers to the west of Kilwa. We excavate, we have this, in this tomb, near this tomb, 13 inscription, Talmudic inscription. So it was very curious, and all people, they said that they are very, very sad for the days of Yana. And so we decide to make excavation in the tomb in 2010, and after in 2015, we go to study this. In 2010, when we make the excavation, we found the funerary inscription of Yana. So we have his name, we had his father name, his family name, and we found his bones. And it was very, very important because the bones connected to the inscription, Talmudic inscription, it allowed us to date the Talmudic inscription in archaeological context. And this is very, very, very rare. This is the inscription of Yana, and you see it here for the first time. So in this text here, we have the name of Yana and his family and his right family and his father, his brother. He said that he is very sad for the death of his brother. The dating of this site, the bones, it was difficult to analyze it. C14 don't give any results because we are in arid environment. We make biopatite analysis, and it gives us the 4th, 5th century AD. That means just before the main site of Kilwa, but also that means the Talmudic writing, it was also human in the 4th and 5th century AD. And this was also of the main discoveries of our work in the Kilwa region. So here it's a general presentation of the work, and I will let the floor to Dr. Linda Hervé. She is archaeobotanist, and she will present her work.
Okay, thank you, Saba. So now I present to you the results of the research that is currently being carried out on the plant remains found on the site of Kilwa. On this structure here on the photo, 55 liters of sediments have been taken from this structure, which represent an area of 200 square meters surrounded by a wall. And the sediments were floated on site using buckets and sieve. The next slide, please, Saba. Thank you. It is interesting to know for purposes that the region is a desert area receiving less than 50 millimeters of annual rainfall on average per year, and whose vegetation belongs to the Saharo-Arabian phytogeographic domain. Therefore, vegetation is sparse and dry farming is impractical. So the goal of the research is to be able to reconstitute the livelihood strategies that have prevailed in order to meet the needs of the inhabitants of the site. This research, oriented on a paleoenvironmental approach with pluridisciplinary studies, leads to privileging the essential points allowing to understand a human implantation, that is to say, the possibility of growing plants to provide food. Even if exchanges must be considered, local production seems to have been essential. And above all, since the agricultural vocation is specific to monastic settlements in the Near East. The next slide, please. Okay, now I present the result of the macro remain study, that is to say the seeds and fruits. The diagram at the top left shows the proportions of the types of remains out of 2,662 identified remains. So we found wild taxa, including for example, gallium, silene, plantago, which are also weeds that are found in crops. But 94% of these wild taxa are represented by stems of plants from Chenopodiaceae family, you see on the photo. Perhaps Anabasis, which was present in the region, but I will come back to this problem later. So we have two Ovicaprine coprolite for 1%, testifying to the presence of cattle on the site, and then domestic taxa numbering 17, cereals represented by barley seeds and the corresponding rashes, and by numerous tetraploid naked wheat rashes, for which we have just only 3 corresponding caryopts. The rashes are the attachments of the grains on the ear. So we have 2 some pulses, including lentils and beans. And finally, the most important part, for 40%, is represented by a large number of fruit taxa, mostly olive pits, fragmented or whole. Then seeds of figs, pomegranate, dates, almond, peach, plum, true pistachio, grape, and a fragment of cucurbitaceae seeds that we could not determine more precisely, but perhaps it is the desert species of the Colossians. The proportion of the fruits is on the diagram on the right. The next slide. So on this slide, we have photos of shared remains. Olea is olive, vitis is grape pip, phoenix it's date, punica it's pomegranate, Prunus persica, it's peach, and free threshing wheat rashes. It's a rashes of naked wheat. It's a modern wheat. Next slide. So, as can say about the stem remains of Chenopodiaceae, we have compared here with a photo of the species Anabasis. It is a plant typical of humid places in arid areas. Why is it so important in assembly? Was it used as fuel or for making soap, which is a no use? Or since it is also a allophytic plant, does it indicate the gradual salinization of these places during the occupation of the site, and perhaps in relation with crop irrigation? The problem is pending. Next slide. This is now the charcoal analysis results. The analysis in progress concern for the moment 235 identifications, but already reveals a significant proportion of olive charcoal. The presence of the olive stones and the wood on the site is an indication of a possible cultivation of the olive tree locally. But charcoals give us clues as to the fuel that was being used. This one seems to have been obtained from the local vegetation in part, represented here by the Chenopodiaceae, and maybe by the coniferous, from the size of olive trees and maybe prunus, and maybe from the intentional burning of dung as fuel, as evidenced by the numerous fragments of Ovicaprine coprolite found, as well as the remains of chaff, that is to say rashes, that may have been used as fodder for livestock. Next slide. So in view of these results, one can wonder if all these plants, fruits, cereals, pulses, came from imports or from local crops. If some of them were grown locally, the question is where and how in such an arid of an environment. It should be remembered that in order to cultivate, it is necessary to bring together 2 elements. First is water. Precipitation estimated at less than 50 millimeter by year excludes all agriculture outside area of water concentration. And the second, the soil, in the pedological sense of the term. And in the Kilwa region, in such severe climatic conditions, it is extremely rare. So our objective was therefore to search for environments which brought together these two components essential to agricultural practices. In the region, soils and water are found in hydro-wind depressions, still functional, locally called GAR. And during our surveys, we observed the example of the Ka Abu Ghada, cultivated in 2010, of which we can see in this photo the traces of agricultural furrows. The Kilwa site was established in the immediate vicinity of GAR, and the surveys carried out by archaeologists and topographers have made it possible to highlight the development of the site through the construction of numerous hydraulic structures. In conclusion, for my part, the example of Kilwa shows an original system of runoff agriculture based on the exploitation of depressions, the GAR, which concentrate water and silt suitable for agriculture. Archaeobotanic, but two geographic, archaeological, and ethnographic studies have provided so many clues that suggest that such agricultural practices may have taken place locally, despite the aridity of the region at the time of the occupation of the site. But the economy of this Christian community, therefore, certainly had to be based on local cultures on one hand, and on trade on the other hand, to meet food needs. Thank you. It's good for me, Saba.
Hello.
Vincent,
Good evening. Good evening. I present you the geoarchaeological study. So next slide, please. The geoarchaeological study concerns the relationship between human settlements and environment. It was done at various scales, from the landscape of the plateau, here, you can see here, to the main site of Kilwa. Next slide, please. Here, by using remote sensing techniques and satellite imagery, we can produce geomorphological maps and geological maps using also fieldwork dataset. Here you can see there is a lot of paleo channels or wadis. It is paleo or 2-day channels, but non-permanent channels. And this drainage network is very dense and show preference organization around the axis southwest northeast, and the local settlements were organized like this. Next slide, please. Next slide, Saba. So here you can see some map results of the remote sensing techniques. Here you can see a slope map showing the very pardon, la diapo précédente, s'il te plaît. Bon. You can see that the average slope is relatively low, and the highest values are relatively concentrated in the central part of the area. Here you can understand that the geomorphological and geoarchaeological study concern the catchment area, and because it is the spatial entity, the natural spatial entity for the settlements. Next slide, please. Next. Here it is an example of the slope breaks that we can find on the field during the field work. And here there is a map that we can produce of the settlement around the site, the main site of Kilwa. Here there is 1,000 of archaeological structures that have been mapped. You can see the pattern around the same pattern of the butte, and you can see that the settlements take account of the drainage network. Here you can understand that the different structures here we can see isolated structures, kites, grouped structures. We can understand that the diversity, the great diversity, show a very ancient adaptation of the settlements in the different parts of the landscape. Next slide. The second part of the geoarchaeological study concerns the Paleo Lake sedimentary records near the main site of Kilwa. This Paleo Lake was studied by different methods from sedimentology, such as granulometry, calcimetry, organic matters analysis, or tin section analysis. The objective was to determine the evolution of the environment that may be a reason of the settlement changes. Here you can see some different phases that document the evolution of the environment. The layers 4, 6, and 8 you can see correspond to aeolian deposits that attest the increase of aridity conditions in the environment. Next slide, please. According to the radiocarbon dating, we can know that the sedimentary record of the Gar, of the Paleo Lake, starts after the beginning of the settlement. The two dates you can see here in red correspond to radiocarbon dates of the settlement. Next slide, please. So the first result of the sedimentary analysis of the Paleo Lake sedimentary records show that there is three main periods of sedimentary phase. The first period corresponds to the main occupation of the site. It corresponds to fluvial phases with deposits deposited in fluvial condition. The second part corresponds to the Aeolian phase with an increase of aridity condition. It corresponds to the phase of abandonment of the main site of Kilwa. And the third phase corresponds to an attendance post-abandonment of the main site. During this period, we can see tracks of fluvial phases, but also plow indices. So plowing indices. So it is very interesting because this sedimentary results observation show that after the abandonment of the main site, there was a lot of indices of agriculture. So all these results in geoarchaeology and geomorphology shows an exceptional model of settlement dynamics linked with environmental processes. Thank you. Thank you.
So, as you see that our work is ongoing, still ongoing by reflection, by studying data and analysis, and our objective for the future is to continue the mapping of archaeological sites in the area around Kilwa, to continue excavation in the Kilwa main site, to excavate and to the grave that we identify where there is Talmudic inscription, and continue mapping of hydraulic networks, because it's the most important thing for our to understand the human occupation. I hope that in our next step, it will be more with Saudi colleagues and the students, and that they can come to see, to meet the specialists in the different domains in archaeology, and and to have another vision also, to have this exchange between the two specialists, all from each side. So we hope that we shall come back to Kilwa and we continue our work there, and with all of you here, the French embassy in Riyadh, in Jeddah, and our colleagues, Saudi colleagues. Thank you for all what you've done in Kilwa, and we hope that we shall come back there again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saba, Linda, and Vincent for your lecture. It was really interesting. So now it's about the question time. So whenever you feel ready, just text us in the chat room, and I'll let the lecturers know about your questions. So at first, we had a question from Caro. She said, what encouraged the archaeological excavation to choose to start in the Kilwa area in the first place? So yes, I'm sure everyone wants to know.
Why we work, what leads us to go to work in Kilwa? Is that the question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Why in Kilwa?
So why it's the hazard, it was just a chance to be there. When we go to Kilwa, we was not going to survey with my colleagues, Saudi colleagues there, and we lost our road and we slept in the police station there, and they talked to us about Kilwa, and it's the Saudi colleagues there, people who lead us to Kilwa, and it was, and after discussion with the French Cultural Bureau in Riyadh and STS, Saudi Commission for Heritage and Culture, and we established this.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So now we have another question from Sylvie Fabre. Is there a cultural connection between Taima and Kilwa?
We don't, maybe there is for the, in the hydraulic use and for the agriculture, but there is no connection directly. But there is cultural connection, yes, of course, by the land management.
Okay, thank you very much. Has anyone other questions? I see messages saying thank you so much. That was really interesting. Definitely it is. But don't feel shy to ask questions. Oh, Okay, so I have another question over there. Thank you, Abdullah Al-Shaher. Have there been any published papers on the project? Also, can you give us briefly the settlement history of the area?
Yes, thank you, Abdullah. So it's, yes, we publish. There is publication. I will send it to you. Just send to me your email, and but it's also on internet by PDF. You can have it, but I will send you all what you need. For the historical occupation, it's Kilwa. It's we have testimony of occupation since the Paleolithical period, and it's known by German survey in the 14th in Kilwa. They make two surveys there, and we found also things like this. And until we know that the main site of Kilwa, it was occupied until the 11th, 12th century AD. That's mean really long, very, very, very long period. So during all this, we have all the periods. We have the testimony of all periods. So it's very interesting to put this together, this archaeological remains with environmental facts. That means the Wadi, as Vincent he talks, and Linda, to understand why people they live here and not there, and because they can go 100 kilometers east, west, north, south, but they was there, and we know that it's water the key.
All right, thank you. So we have another question from Omar. For the church, related to what Christian era?
It's probably 7th century, 6th, 7th century. It's maybe it's earlier, but until now we don't found the analysis. Really, it's 7th, 6th century, and it's Nestorian probably.
Okay, and another question from Munira Al-Mushawa. Is there any possibility that the tomb with the Thamudic inscription was reused?
Ça coupait un peu, Yvonne. If
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm gonna repeat it. So the next question is there any possibility that the tomb with the Thamudic inscription was reused?
No, we don't found another bones. We have only the bones of one person. So it's so we don't have many. It was very. There is no contamination. It was done very very carefully. So for that we allow to talk about it.
Okay, thank you. If anyone has a question, it's now or never, I must say. There is another one. Okay, so Sylvie Fabre, once more. It was told that the rock art in Taima should be 8,000 years old. Is it possible? Kilwa's inscription is from the 5th century.
There is two things, that's rock art and the inscription, Talmudic inscription. The rock art in Kilwa, it's very, very, very ancient, and it's even taken as a reference for the Paleolithical period, and we have many. It's very ancient. It's considered as the most ancient, I think, even by the historian, even in the world. It's compared. So rock art in Kilwa, it's one matter, and the Talmudic inscription, it's another thing. So the dating what I give here, it was only for the Talmudic inscription. It's not for rock art. Rock art, we don't focus on the dating because it's very difficult, and it's we don't have until now the real scientific method to date rock art, only with comparative figures, and but we don't have archaeological really proof. So it's the inscription of Kilwa we have now, it was in archaeological context with bones, and it's very, we have it with evidence, historical, really clear evidence.
Okay, great, thank you. So well, if we don't receive any questions anymore, well, thank you so much for being there tonight with us. We were really grateful to host Saba, Vincent, and Linda with us. And well, we hope to see you soon for our next Red Sea Talks. And for sure, if you have any questions, just ask us and we'll forward them to our friends. And don't forget that you can, well, the lecture is being recorded, so it will be available next week, maximum, on the website from the French consulate. So thank you so much all, and have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, bye-bye.